Yeah, couple of little items before we talk about the local teams. Now, Macclesfield Town, they've been expelled from the National League 13 days after they were wound up by the High Court. On the 16th of September, the Insolvency and Companies Court was told the Silkmen owed debts of more than £500,000. The club were relegated from League Two after the English Football League successfully appealed against a points deduction they thought was too lenient.
That's 2 weeks' wages for a top Premiership player. Yeah.
Yeah.
Macclesfield were to have begun the new National League season with a home game at Bromley against Bromley last weekend.
Right.
I'm talking about the National League. The new season campaign got underway last Saturday as planned, following confirmation of government will compensate clubs for essential lost revenue. At a meeting of its board of directors last Friday, the financial support package from the government to the 67 league clubs was confirmed. The amount is a £10 million grant spread over 3 months, and this will be reviewed again if fans are still not allowed into the grounds to pay their way. Now, I've also seen that grant was 20 million, but I've heard on the television it was 10. Does anybody know themselves? Anybody out there? 10?
I think it was
I've
10 and 10.
I've seen 10 million.
I saw it 20 somewhere, but I know that
10, and then if they need it, another 10.
Do you know,
That's right.
football is depressing me so much with the rule changes and these stupid.
Yeah.
I'm almost ready to support Sheffield Wednesday. You know.
Yeah.
suicide better than that,
Realise
Ian.
you're a masochist, Ian.
Things can't be that bad, Ian.
It's the fit of depression. It really is.
Have a look
If
how
it
you've
wasn't
upset
for bad
John.
luck, we wouldn't have no luck at all.
Yeah.
Talking about
Did anyone see Chesterfield? They've been very innovative in setting up
Say that
their
again.
bar. Innovative. Anyway, they've been very clever setting up their bar with to screen the match from the other ground on Saturday, and they were going to have a number of people in the bar.
yeah.
But they were getting some money in, and the match got postponed.
Oh,
That's innovative.
Waterlogged pitch. So,
Is that what it was? Keep
Yeah,
the waterlogged pitch.
waterlogged pitch, yeah.
First match of the season, waterlogged pitch.
Yeah. And one thing that I know that the National League are doing is that they put in a referee on standby who's not got a game, and between up to 3 hours beforehand, it can be called on at short notice. If
Blow your nose, dear.
or
Yeah,
one
he's
of
not
the-
this, Brian.
So they're doing all they can to make sure that the games go ahead, and then it gets waterlogged.
I missed that, Keith. What did you say?
Say referees, say they put in a referee on standby to make sure that if a referee gets caught, has to pull out at short notice, possibly because of COVID, they can then call on this other referee to come in and take his place.
Yeah.
So,
Makes
sense.
you know,
Logical, that isn't it?
yeah,
I
it's more logical than football normally gets.
Yeah, I can remember many years ago that the Football League had a call-off system for pitch inspections, and local referees went to do pitch inspections so that the match referee didn't have to go. And I went to Chesterfield on New Year's Eve. This was the old Saltergate ground. I'm going back that far. And I went to do a pitch inspection on New Year's Eve for a match at Boxing Day, and the pitch was.
Sorry?
The,
You just said on New Year's Eve for Boxing Day.
sorry, on Christmas Eve for Boxing Day. Yeah, Christmas Eve, not New Year's Eve. We weren't that far in advance. And
Just to let you know we're awake.
Yeah. The pitch was an absolute disaster. It's been played on, not being rolled, which you wouldn't expect for a professional club, but not being rolled and had frozen. So it was rutted. It was downright dangerous. And within seconds of me stepping on the pitch, I knew what my decision was. The manager was there, which I didn't want to happen, but did. But he said, "There's no way I'm putting my players out on this pitch, ref." So more or less saying, irrespective of what you said, we're not turning up. Right. So the decision was dead easy. But then for the next half hour, I was embroiled in a discussion which sort of bordered on argument with the chairman, who was arguing with me about whether I was going to pay the wages for the players that week because I'd called the game off, and they got all the pies and the likes ordered, and because I'd called the game off, I was putting the club at risk. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
Are you like that at parties, Brian?
Sorry?
Are you like that at parties, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I was called to do a pitch inspection at Hillsborough once.
Yeah.
When I got there, the Wednesday manager said, "We can't play football on this pitch." So I said, "Yeah, but that's every week."
He's
Ryan?
just like Max Bygraves, isn't he?
Ryan,
Yeah.
something that came up in the Manchester United game where I reckon 3 more could have been sent off, but that's by the by. I just wondered if you made any allowance as a referee for the harder tackles in wet weather. You know, gave them the benefit of the doubt. Because the excuse the pundit used the other night was, well, it was very wet, so they probably only were awarded a yellow card. That's a nonsense, but I would be interested in your view.
Well, it's changed slightly since I was a referee in the sense that the laws were quite explicit that it was about intent, right? So irrespective of conditions, right, intent was still the same. Yeah. And you had to interpret the intent. The biggest one at the moment, of course, being is handball intentional or not? Yeah. And what they're tending to lean to now, more often than perhaps they should, but that's a matter of opinion, is the outcome. Is the outcome. Yeah. So that's the difference between my day and now. So if say for instance a player committed a tackle that was designed to cut a player in half, but he missed, right? I would be judging intent, and the intent would be the same if he missed him or he did actually cut him in half. Whereas now we get these referees coming and telling us how they have to manage the game, and they would give the decision that is expected of them, not necessarily what's in accordance with law.
Saw the Man U game, but there was one tackle. I can't remember the culprit, but it was on the touchline, and he took him out. Just took him out. It should have been an hit. Even Gary Neville.
It was GBH.
Yeah, that was sending off. That.
Yeah.
Sending off without a doubt.
Should we all agree? Sending off.
What we saying, Dave Redfern?
Should have been sent off.
Yeah. See,
along with Pogba.
Yeah.
See, my view on that one, Ian, was that actually it wasn't even a tackle. It wasn't a tackle. It was a kick.
Yeah.
But because you could see Shaw looked at this guy. You could see it in his face. He looked at him. The guy was away. Yeah. He had not even the slightest of intention to play the ball. Yeah. He was just so peed off. Yeah. That he just kicked him. Yeah. And instead of the referee viewing it as a foul tackle, I certainly, if I'd have been on that pitch and seen it the way I saw it on TV, I would have viewed it as a kick and constituting violent conduct, and I'd have shifted him.
Well, I would probably expect you to send the other 8 off as well.
Ryan,
What about the other sending off? Shouldn't they have both been sent off?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah, and that's where VAR ought to come in, because I felt a bit sorry for the referee, and it sort of takes you right back to local league football in the sense that the referee saw the second incident, but he didn't see the first.
Correct.
Right, and if he didn't see it, how can he punish it? But to me, that's the sort of thing that VAR is there for.
Definitely.
And whoever was there should have said.
could he get penalised retrospectively for that?
Yeah.
Well, he got a yellow card. He got a yellow card.
Yeah, so he'll not be penalised if he's got a yellow card. He'll not be penalised anymore.
But he should be penalised for bad acting.
He just
Yeah.
threw the man.
Well, I thought the first offence was far more serious than the second offence.
I agree, Brian.
Although having said that, I thought both offences were if you saw it in a bar on a Friday night in Sheffield, you wouldn't bat an eyelid,
No.
But of course that guy went down like a sack of potatoes, didn't he? Once his brain had ticked in, he got caught. A couple of seconds passed, and he thought, "Oh crikey, I better go down here. I could get something out of this." And down he went, and it paid off. Which
Interestingly, this goes back to what Pochettino said. Pochettino, who's also an Argentinian, admitted that in Argentina, in South America generally, they actually practice that sort of thing because it's regarded as a skill to actually gain an advantage over your opponent. Now, Graham Souness got in trouble on Sky TV apparently for being racist and saying that the Latins did that sort of thing. When in fact, it's a fact that Latins have admitted to. They actually train diving, feigning injury. It's regarded as getting one over on your opponent legitimately, and they're praised for it in South America.
And if they don't do it, the sniper will get them.
Exactly.
I mean,
Absolutely.
truly.
Yeah.
But can we just talk about the non-sending off in the Arsenal match, Arsenal United game?
What, both of them? Both of the non-sendings off.
Well, let's talk
Louise
about
and Sanderberg.
Sanderberg wasn't out of control.
He was out of control. His feet, both his feet, left the ground.
No.
He was out of control. It was a red card. Be honest.
No
Both
way.
feet left the ground.
No chance.
No, you've got to be honest, Keith.
No, honestly,
Louise should have been sent off without a doubt. And he's a has-been. He's been a has-been for about 3 or 4 seasons.
he should have been sent off.
Both feet
The whole
left
game,
the ground.
the whole game changes. If he's sent off, it's a whole different game. United would have gone on and won that game. I'm convinced. But
He may well have done.
I blame Lowell for
I
inciting.
don't think United were anywhere near winning that game, Keith. They were
Well, they would
nowhere
have been.
near winning it.
they would have been with 10
I
against.
don't think so.
No,
I
do.
think they only put Arsenal under any pressure in the last few minutes.
Well,
I think up to
I
then,
think
possibly if it had been sent off, but I'm not sure it was a send-off offence.
hey,
How does he still get
I don't think
picked for
there was
any
a
side, Louise, anyway?
sending off offence in either.
how can
I don't think there was a sending off offence in that game at all.
how can pulling the last man back not deemed?
But the annoying thing about football, Keith, is that shirt pulling is prevalent. It happens every game, in penalty area in particular. Why cannot modern footballers play football without pulling somebody's shirts? They're big Mardi girls' blouses. What are they on about? They do it in every game. There's at least a dozen shirt pulls in every game. But it doesn't negate the fact that Louis should have been sent off for that shirt pull.
I agree with every word you said, John, except a dozen. There's a dozen in every minute.
You're right. You're right, Ian. That was an
If you
underestimate.
watch them, It's 6 and 2 threes until somebody makes a commitment, and then he gets penalised. But it's,
but you
it's
see the
not a man's game, but crikey, it's played by girls.
when you see the picture in the press, Louise's arms
Yeah.
out full length, and the shirt's being pulled
About 3 foot longer.
at
Yeah.
full stretch.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And
See,
what gets me is I don't blame the referee for missing it, but shouldn't VAR be looking at that and saying to him,
yes,
it's ridiculous.
definitely.
And I don't know if you saw on Sky TV, they actually analysed the John Egan sending off as opposed to it, and they showed you from one of the camera angles, it was the Villa player had hold of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first foul was Villa.
Yeah.
The trouble is, if they play this and play this, they'll never get a game finish, will they? You know,
No.
just do away with
the ball
VAR,
can
and
be going-
that's how it is from the
On
rest.
that, yeah.
The ball
On
can
that
be
thing,
going
though,
100 miles an
QPR
hour.
should have had a penalty against us. For the same, Odubaju pulled the shirt of their forward. It was blooming obvious that, unfortunately, I've got to admit, they should have had a penalty for the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, Dave.
When I were playing, we were taught to pull.
Were you?
When the goalkeeper kicked the ball,
Yeah.
I'd got to get hold of the centre off and pull him round as I turned, and it puts him out of position. So I mean that's a long way back. So you can imagine what it's like now.
Dave, you got it wrong, mate. You're mixing it up when trying to pull girlfriends. That's not.
I've only ever had one.
Interestingly and surprisingly, reading Stanley Matthews' autobiography, he was talking about shirt pulling then in the 40s and the 50s.
Yeah.
It's not a modern invention, it's just that they do it more.
They taught a lot slyer now how to do it.
Yeah, you're right.
I
know
also
the
think
material of the shirts changed, so it stretches more as well. It's more visible.
Arsenal, if you notice, they never have any slack shirts. They're all tight-fitted shirts, and that's one of the reasons they have it, so that they can't pull.
England Rugby Union are the same.
Yes,
They have tight-fitted shirts, so the opponents can't get hold of the shirt.
That was Clive Woodward's idea.
But I think the thing is, because it's on television, we see it more. I don't think there's any more shirt pulling. I think we see it more because it's on television.
I still go back to the point is the VAR official has to be able to see that, clearly has to be able to see it.
Yeah.
So he should be sacked.
The problem is, Keith.
They're referees anyway, aren't they?
It's rotten to the core, this. The VAR man will be taking control of the whole game because there's an incident every 30 seconds. Of that. And then you've got the stream of the ball hits you from 6 inches away at 100 miles an hour. That's a penalty. Come on.
Do you think
they were only supposed to? I thought the VAR were only supposed to look at penalties and goals. So I didn't think they could look at, and I might be wrong. Brian might.
I
thought they were only supposed to look at penalties and goals.
Yeah, and that's right, and
offsides as well, perhaps,
and potential red card offences,
potential red card, and clear what you call clear and obvious errors. So if it's a bit like the cricket equivalent of umpire's call, because sometimes like with leg befores, for instance, you can see that according to Hawkeye the ball's going to hit the stumps, but it's not out because it's only just going to hit the stumps. So it goes back to umpire's call, and if he said not out, it's not out. But for the same incident, if he'd have said it's out, it'd have been out. So it's like two different decisions off the same incident, and it sort of applies there in football where the referee's seen it, and he hasn't or he's deemed it one way or the other, and you know, it could be right, it could be wrong. So it's not an obvious error. So they don't intervene. But my view on that is that what you've got there, you've got the referee with an opinion, and then then you have another guy who has got a different opinion of the same thing. So that's, to me, is when the referee should go over to the monitor and make his decision, because otherwise you've got a different opinion.
Yeah.
Making the decision to your own. I mean, you know, the points of fact, you know, like the offside, you know, is he a millimetre offside? Well, like it or lump it, there's got to be some parameters, and if you had, well, it's got to be a yard clear before you give him offside. Well, sooner or later, there's going to become a yard and a millimetre, and people are still going to be moaning or complaining about that 1 millimetre.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to live with that. But when it comes to opinion, sometimes it feels like you've got to get two similar opinions to get your decision, and that's where it falls down for me.
That's absolutely right, Brian. And if they took a leaf out of the rugby union, where you get the third official saying, have a look at, or being asked to have a look at, they've watched it through, and it's Nigel Owens, the referee on the field, who makes the decision.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is 6 and 2 3s, what the football Stockley Park should do is say, you've awarded a goal, but we think there was an offside. Have a look. Your decision, your call.
Yeah.
But they don't do that.
Let's face it, if it had been the other way around and an Arsenal player who you can bet your life that the United player would have been sent off.
Well, what would have happened, Keith? We would have gone to the Manchester United scenario, because where United lost out there was because the United player carried on. Right. If he'd have stopped, if he'd have turned round and knocked Louise's arm off his shirt, it'd have forced the referee into making a decision. But he didn't. He just carried on, and it cost him. And that you know, the two incidents we've talked about, that and the Man United one shows where the game's gone or where it's going, and how a clever player sometimes beats a proper player, for want of a better description.
You shouldn't have to fall down to get a decision.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Why do they get decisions when they fall down?
Yeah.
Book them and send them off.
Yeah.
But it's cheating, isn't it?
And do you know what, right. Colin? I found it far easier refereeing 9-a-side than I did 11-a-side.
Right, Lol. Is that it then for this week?
I've got some more.
Go on, Lol.
Just a couple of signings. Now, the Owls, they've signed Scotland international Callum Patterson from Cardiff for an undisclosed fee. He began his career north of the border with Hearts, where he played 158 games, scoring 38 goals. Initially a right back, but due to his eye for a goal, would often be pushed forward into more attacking roles. He joined Cardiff in June 2017 and helped the Bluebirds gain promotion to the Premier League in his first season with them. Overall, the utility man made 106 appearances for Cardiff, scoring 21 goals. He made his international debut against Italy in 2016, and Hearts will receive a sell-on fee as Patterson arrives at Sheffield 6. Now, the Blades boss, Chris Wilder, he's described Ryan Brewster as one of the country's hottest properties after signing the 20-year-old striker from Liverpool for a club record deal worth £23.5 million. The package for the player includes a buyback option for 3 years, and the Reds will get 15% of any sell-on fee. In helping England win the Under-17 World Cup in 2017, he won the Golden Boot with 8 goals. And last season, he scored 11 goals in 22 appearances while on loan at Swansea. I can leave it there and not talk about Wednesday.
Well, United will get the first win in the next game, surely.
Well, against
Fulham.
Fulham.
They'll
If
have
they
to.
don't, they're in trouble.
The last
They're
time Fulham
better.
came to Bramall Lane, John, Fulham
Yeah.
won 5-3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was there. Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Right.
it'll be different this time.
Okay. What was hoping this week was to introduce a new spot, not a regular spot, a new spot where one of us introduce their top 5 sports people that they would like to they think are their top 5 or would like to meet or whatever. And this week, Big Paul has done his top 5. Now, I'm sure we're not going to get time to finish it all. So, Paul, would you like to start it off? Yes, John.
Only quickly, I mean, I do not want to deny Big Paul, but I thought Paul the Biscuit were going to tell us about his marathon
Of course it
experience,
was, yeah. I'm sorry, I
which will
forgot.
have less relevance in a week's time. Sorry about that, Big Paul.
No,
No, I'd be interested to. It's nothing that can't wait. It doesn't have to be done this week. It can be
Yeah,
done.
it's just that Paul the Biscuit's story will
Yeah.
have less relevance the longer we wait.
yeah.
But what he needs to do is get a 32-ounce steak on that eye and get.
Go on then, Paul.
Very quickly then, Catherine was supposed to do the London Marathon, obviously, but it became a virtual race. So we decided that we'd run a 2.6 mile lap from our son's house in Doncaster because it's flat. So 2.6 miles, and the idea was to go 10 times round. Well, she was going to have lots of different people running a lap with her, friends coming in and all that sort of stuff. But of course, Boris kiboshed that because we couldn't have more than 6 people together at any one time. So it ended up with I was going to run the first 5 laps with her, and then one of my other sons was going to run, and so on. Anyway, but I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago that I was thinking about doing the Athens Marathon. Well, that got called off on Friday. So I decided Saturday morning, well, if I can't run anywhere else, I might as well run full marathon tomorrow. Now, that's not the best preparation, I've decided.
So yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
I might do a full marathon tomorrow, yeah.
Not the best way to do it. But anyway, it was good. I mean, but she had a really bad time. I mean, it's only 11 months since she had a hip replay sort of thing. But that wasn't the reason for it. She's done 1 or 2 18-mile runs leading up to it and all that sort of stuff. And she was struggling before she got to 10. So it was a real struggle. We almost carried her around for the last bit sort of thing. But strangely, despite her doing a very slow time by our standards, she was in the top third of the whole race of the times that came in, which couldn't believe.
Is everybody getting their practice in, do you think, Paul? Is that something to do with it?
Yeah. Everybody who's going to run a marathon will have been doing loads of training anyway. I had.
How's she feeling this morning, Paul?
Pardon, sorry?
How's she feeling this morning?
Fine. Yeah.
She's recovered,
she's fine.
right.
Yeah, she's going swimming tonight. I swum this morning. It's okay.
Open air or in a pool?
In a pool. I've swum 50 legs or so this morning just to loosen it off a bit, but yeah, it's okay. Sorry, that sounds wrong, doesn't it? Yeah. But
where do you go swimming?
Where? At Graves Leisure Centre.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I have to say, I mean, I've been doing a lot of training because, I was hoping to run a race, and I've kept the Ironman training going right through the summer. I have never felt so strong at the end of a run. Because when it got to the last lap, I said to my son was running with me, I said, I could run another lap here because there's such a thing as an ultra marathon. Anything that's further than the full 26 miles becomes what they call an ultra marathon. I've never done one. I thought I could do another lap here and I'll have done 29 miles. And then when I get to 29, I'll probably put another one on just to say I've done 30. But my son got a bit annoyed, said, this isn't about you. And he was right.
Quite right.
That's when he tracked you.
He was
I think
right.
you should disown
That's
him.
how he got
Paul.
the eye.
Yeah.
Disown him.
That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, it was a
He
great
should be
day.
supporting his elderly parent.
That's right. You'd have thought so, wouldn't you? But
Have you
it
got
was
to turn
good.
the speed, Paul, like these elite athletes towards the end when you can?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, yeah. Now, a little 4-year-old granddaughter was there with the flag at the end, you know, waving it as she came across the line. So that was great. It was good.
That's an interesting point, Lol. I don't know. I think it was the world champion who was asked before the race, do you have a turn of speed if the race is run slow? He says, I don't know. You don't know until you've actually done 26 miles or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, just before we finish, because we're now less than a minute, I just want to remind you that people in Liverpool are still reporting.
Oh, shut up. I'm not finished. Recording's finished.